And most HVAC companies track incidents, but that alone doesn't tell you how safe your operation actually is. What matters is incidents relative to exposure, and that's exactly what TRIR measures. And so it converts safety into normalized metrics so leadership can understand risk across months, seasons, and workload changes. And so TRIR, let me just show you on Google the formula behind it. So total recordable incident rate. And what it is, and it's a little bit skewed for relatively small companies for less than 100 employees, because it's the number of incidents times 200,000. And 200,000 is 100 employees times 200,000 or 2,000 hours a year. And then divided by the number of hours worked, right? And so that's why this is sort of blown up, but this is still sort of high because what we're doing to sort of smooth things out is we're taking a 12-month rolling average, because there's a lot of months with 0, but 32, like the benchmark is 3.5, right? So 32, 103 is like extremely high. And so by doing it this way, we're smoothing it out. And so let's get started here. So here we have a data set. Pretty straightforward. It's just, employees, month end, when once a month enter in all the information by employee, the role, role group. But the main thing we need is just recordable incidents. So this is the main one to calculate the KPI. But also we're going to bring in the claim cost as well, just the sum of the cost by month. So for this KPI, we're going to add this. You don't really need it, but we're going to add it. And then we need total incidents, and then the month, the recorded month. And if you want this file, there's a link to download it. It's going to have the completed solution as well. If you can't find the link, then just shoot me an email. Okay, so the first thing we need is we need a unique list of the months, and then we got to calculate the sum of the hours worked. Oh, that's another thing. Yeah, we also need hours worked, obviously. That's the whole bottom of the fraction. The sum of the hours worked, the number of incidents, and then you can calculate your score. And it's just, times 200,000 divided by the number of incidents. And then we can calculate the claim cost and then the rolling average. So I'm just going to copy this and then put it here. Okay, let me just widen these a little bit. Okay, so for the month, we want a unique list of the month. So equals unique, and then right here, the unique of this. So that's already formatted properly. And then the next thing is we want the sum, right? So we want the sum of the hours worked if the month is January 31st. And then the sum for February, sum for March, sum for April. So we need the SUMIF function. And I'm going to use the SUMIFS. I never use SUMIF. SUMIFS is one or more criteria. SUMIF is just one criteria. So sum the hours worked here, comma, where the month end, comma, is cell B3. Go ahead and copy that down. And then the next thing is the count of incidents. And so we have here, is it a recordable incident, right? So TRIR, total recordable incident rate. So if it was a recordable incident, then we want to sum that. So sum this column based on the month. And so equals SUMIFS again. This time it's just, instead of the hours worked, it's this column here, comma, and then the month end, comma, cell B3 again. And so we have this here. And so now we want to calculate the score, and we can do it by month. It's equals this times 200,000 divided by the number of hours, right? 32 is like unbelievably high, but people understand that, like insurance and things like that will understand that. But that's why we can take a rolling sort of average of this. And so now we'll do instead of 6 month, let's do 12 month. Or instead of calling it 12 month, we can just say 1 year. 1 year rolling. And so now we just have to go down to essentially here. This is the 12th. So equals the sum of these, close your brackets, divided by the sum of these, and then close your brackets. Oh, sorry. This times 200,000 times 200, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, that's a pretty important number. But then we need to put this in brackets. Okay, so we have that, and then just double click. And you can see it's still high. I mean, it's just the nature. One, this incident rate is pretty high, right? 3 incidents, and I think there's like 30 employees, right? So 1 in 10 employees, like that's not good. So, so yeah, it's still a high number, and that's just the nature of the data set. And so now we want the cost, which is going to sum the cost here, if again the month is based on the month. So actually, because this is in a table, I'm going to show you how to do this without ever having to go back. So what we can do is we can copy this, paste it, and then now what we're going to do is we want the sum based off the table, and then we can do the table, and now we have right here, right? We can see like, okay, where is the cost, estimated claim cost? And now we have that. That's the beauty of tables. There's a lot of benefits of tables, but this is one of them. And then let's say the target is 3.5%. And in here is we're not gonna reach that. And let me format this. So do this one as equals the one above it. And the reason is because as you drag that down, as you change this, it will automatically, update whenever we do the line. Okay, so the next thing we want to calculate is going to be the hours worked as the columns. This purple line is the rolling average, and then the green line is going to be the benchmark. And you can see you're never below the benchmark, and that's just because there's a lot of injuries at this company. And so highlight these two, and then hold down Control, highlight 1 year rolling TRIR, and then highlight target. And then go to Insert, Recommended Charts, and then I'll show you how to create that chart. Go to All Charts, and then Combo. And now what you can see is hours worked, we want the column. 1 year rolling, we want a line. And then this is the trick. The thing is that we don't want the target of 3.5 to be on the same line as 6,244. And I need to fix that. It's not 3.5%. And so what we're going to do is a secondary axis here and a secondary axis here. And I'll fix this. So then, okay. And we have this, but I need to change this to 3.5. And then change this to format it the same way. And now you can see you're above the line the whole time. And that's just, it's something, it's a red flag, right? And so meaning you're going to have to see what's going on, why the injury rates are so high. And then where the recordable incident rate is so high. Because it doesn't always mean it's an injury. Let me paste that here. Zoom out a little bit, and we can make this a little bit bigger. And then what I'll do is I'll just show you some formatting stuff. So the first thing that you might want to do is change this line here. Just change the color. I mean, you don't have to. It's just, maybe you don't want it to be so thick. Like, let me just click on it. And then you can click on the line, go to the paint bucket, and then maybe change it to 1.25. You can change it to black here if you want. You can also make it a dotted line. Like, there's a lot of ways to do that. And so that's how you can change. If you want to change the color of any of these, you can do that by clicking on the line and then clicking on the paint bucket. You can do the same at the column level, if you want to change that. With the numbers, you can change the color to black. You can make it bold. And so, yeah, so there's a lot you can do with this if you want to. I just want to show you, those things just to, make it a little bit easier on the eyes. But at the end of the day, the metric is what matters. The other stuff is just, like for aesthetics. But anyways, that is how you calculate this. Again, if you have a 100-person company, the numbers will make a lot more sense. Well, unless you have, 3 out of 30 employees getting injured or having incidents, then it's not going to make sense, right? It's going to be high because that's 1 in 10. And so, yeah, definitely want to, if you do this on your own, then, with your own data and you get these numbers, then it's definitely something worth looking into. But anyways, that's it for this one. So if you have a questions at data boards. If you want to get this data set with my completed solution with all these formulas, you can see all the formulas here, then there's a link to download it. If you can't find it, shoot me an email. Again, questions at data boards. And if you need some help with these KPIs, getting your data structured, getting the insights, getting your reporting done, if you don't have anybody on your team that can help, then there's a link to my calendar, or you can just shoot me an email. But anyways, that's it for this one, and I will see you in future lessons.